My name is Andrew Jones, and I'm a shape sifter. What I deal with is the subtle manipulation of digital shapes until they turn into more complicated shapes that people recognize as places and things. My background is I started conceptart.org, and I started a studio called Massive Black, which is a large outsourcing company for the entertainment industry. And now I make my living as a live digital painter, and I tour around with different musicians and DJs in the underground electronic music scene and festivals, and I get up on stage, and during the course of the event I have a large oversized Wacom tablet that I've fitted with some industrial C-clamps and a guitar strap, and I create live paintings from start to finish during the course of the show. And so it's a new interactive form of, in a way it's kind of like VJing. So I get hooked up into the projector setup, and sometimes I'll make pictures of the crowd, sometimes I'll do paintings of the DJs, but I've found it's been a really excellent opportunity to almost be a cultural stenographer. I feel like there's a lot of really incredible things happening within electronic music and a lot of different communities, specifically around I'm from San Francisco, and there's a lot of really amazing shifts in people and culture and consciousness that's happening in that area. And I've signed up myself to be one of the people that records this. I feel that we're in a very, very special and very crucial time in humanity and human history right now, with culture and art and the world around us that's falling apart at the seams. And I think it's a really exciting time to be alive and a really exciting time to be an artist. And there's lots of really exciting things to draw and make record of, and that's what I've taken up that responsibility in my life, to be someone that surrenders himself to this movement and tries to reflect what's going on around him and increase the overall levels of beauty and bliss and creativity. This is my second visit to Montreal. I was actually here through conceptart.org, which is it's an online artist community. It's a big nonprofit. We've got 87,000 registered users, and it's a place where all these people go and exchange art and ideas. And we actually held a Montreal workshop here. I believe it was last June we were here. It's a much more intimate sort of an event than this is an amazing production they've got here, but it's we cater towards more establishing more of a tight-knit community of artists. It's a lot more underground, a lot more renegade. So I was here once for that, and this is my second time in Montreal. But yeah, since being here, I can see there's a very alive and active art community here. Just from kind of being outside, I've met a lot of really interesting artists doing a lot of really interesting experimental things, and I have a certain amount of friends from this area that are also involved in a lot of creative endeavors. So it's always nice to come back here.
It came from a lot of things. You know, like I said, I was in San Francisco, and I'm part of a culture in the underground community in San Francisco. I think it's one of the most. For me, it's very Burning Man-ish. You know, we've got just so many creative like DJs and musicians and artists and performers, and I was indoctrinated into this community as an artist, and I was around so much performance all the time. And I'd see the performance, and I'd go to these festivals and go to these concerts, and it was so amazing, and there was something inside of me that really wanted to be able to participate more. I mean, I could do things like I could make posters for them, or I could make their album cover, but it was all stuff that I was doing outside of that, and I just had this real desire to really live in the moment. And so one of the things I first started doing is airbrush. I started doing like body art airbrush on performers, and that was this way to be like really tactile. It was like I was actually dealing with people and paint and shapes and pigments and performers, and that was really great, but that was still one level behind the scenes, like backstage. And so I think this really is really just born out of a desire to really give and really be part of something. And what I found the most rewarding is just it's the energy, and it's the place of creation. You know, I realize now that through the majority of all of my work, all my studio work, it's me usually working alone and in the dark in my studio, you know, like with music, and it's a really great, you know, cathartic place to work from. You know, but it's also kind of a vacuum of your own energy at the same time. Wacom pad, and it's an electronic interface, pressure sensitivity of the pen. and it's hooked up to these industrial C-clamps, and then I've got it. The handles are adjustable, so I can pull it at different positions. I've got, these are like little MIDI keypads where I can control different programming functions. Hold it like this. It's through USB, it's hooked up into a laptop, so usually the laptop's on a tripod right here, so it's eye level. And this allows me just full interaction, full 360-degree interface is what I'm doing. I can play. There's different modes I can work in. A lot of times if I really want to get into a piece, I can put this kind of like the electric guitar mode, which is a real crowd pleaser. That's a real fun one, but you know, it's got the ability to move around as a prop. I've done some performance or dance with this, but I think what's really exciting about it is that, you know, traditional art is always something that's, I've always enjoyed how visceral traditional art is, that you're actually working on like a real thing, real 3 dimensions, but there's something about this, once I got into really standing and working with this, that this is it's an interface that I can be so dynamic with, because I can move, and I can dance with this, and I can swing it around, and I can add like whole body movements to strokes, and I've never been able to do anything like that traditionally, because traditionally you're always working on something that's kind of stagnant, you kind of approach it, and you come back to it, but it's always the stationary thing. With this, I've got the option to move around, and I've also got a few options to looking at the painting. I can look at my laptop, and I can get into details, and lots of times the projection's right behind me, so I can get in front of this wall. And so it's like this visual mind graffiti, and you get to a point where, even though this is a kind of an elaborate interface, I find that this allows me to, it's almost a place of disconnection. Ideally, what really happens is I completely disconnect between my hand and then I'm using this at all. And the real moment then I try to get to is when I'm seeing something up on the wall or on the screen, and the whole physical body kind of fades away from consciousness, and it's really just your mind manifesting right in front of you. So that's, I definitely strive for those sort of moments. Those are the most fun. That's when I find I do that, you know, when everything else kind of dissolves away.